Now, the ANC is celebrating 118 years today. The event is taking place at the Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane. The ANC was founded on this day in 1912 under the banner of promoting and protecting the rights of the African people. 110 years it's celebrating, rather. But it's a journey that's been anything but easy. Let's cross over to our senior reporter, Siphamandla Goge, who is at the celebrations for an update of what's been happening there. So, Sipa, what did the president have to say about the party's financial crisis, something that came through in his speech that he delivered last night before the lights went out?
Well, this is a milestone for the ANC. They are celebrating 110 years of existence. Ordinarily, this should be a big bash for them where they pat themselves in the back to say, job well done in governing South Africa. But they can't do that. They can't say that because they have squandered so many opportunities to be one of the well-governing parties in the world. Let's give them credit. They have registered some successful gains in terms of service delivery, building houses for people, and ensuring that there are basic services that are delivered. However, challenges of today require that they do things differently, as we see NEC members Dakota Likwete and Nombula Mokonyane walking in, with also see Mamoloko Kubai coming in here. So the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa highlighted the fact that the ANC is still struggling financially, appealing to business people to basically contribute to the ANC so that it can be financially sustainable and stable. Of course, here you've got senior or different NEC members who are attending this January 8th statement. I've just spotted Nombula Mokonyane. Thank you very much for your time. Bear with us. Your DJ is playing loud music, but it's okay. It's your birthday. You have every right. What is the gist of the January 8th statement? Why does it still matter to the ANC?
January 8th statement it's about the presentation of a program of the African National Congress and a call to action to members of the ANC. So it's a program for the year 2022. This is something that was started by Comrade President Tambo 50 years ago. It has become so historic because people of the world, everybody looks forward to the January 8th statement, and now that we are also in power, it also gives us a framework about our annual plan for 2022-2023.
You would have loved to celebrate it doing very well, not limping. You are in financial crisis. You are losing the electoral support. Surely there is a lot of introspection to be done and to self-correct.
We're looking forward to the statement by Comrade President. It's gonna come from what was the theme for last year about unity and renewal, the reconstruction, but also looking at the issues of the economy. And of course, organizational renewal is not an event, but it is a process which is now going to continue. So we are quite determined that renewal also has to do with us reflecting on our lost fortunes in the last local government elections.
You have been in power, you've been in government, you were the MEC in Gauteng, you were the Premier in Gauteng, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, the Minister of Environmental Affairs. Here in Limpopo and across South Africa, people are complaining about basic services, water in particular. How do you feel when you hear people complain about water, whereas you have had power to change that?
South Africa is a drought. It's not a water. We are not actually a country that has got excessive water. Our water sources are not our own. We rely on groundwater. And part of what is important is that there are still a lot of our people who still do not have access to clean water. However, the percentage of those who have access is way above 80%. We need to also make sure that sustainable development goes with the upgrading of our bulk infrastructure as well as the creation of new infrastructure in an integrated manner. But we also have to adapt to the realities of climate change and ensure that we reuse, we preserve. Of importance, we do not actually use drinkable water for other purposes when it can actually be saved for both hygienic as well as potable household drinking.
Is the Unity Project taking off, though? It seems as if the ANC is struggling with factionalism, gatekeeping, and the Unity Project is not really taking off very well.
The Unity Project is a protracted project. The Unity Project, what it requires individuals, it requires structures of the ANC, it requires leadership that is quite determined. Yes, it is moving. Just last year in December, we had conferences in KwaZulu-Natal. They went on without any incident. We had conferences in the Eastern Cape. They went on without any incident. Here in Limpopo, we've also had conferences. And what has happened is that our systems, but also our organizational preparation that deals not only with administrative processes, but organizational development of a member, preparing them for their participation in the development of programs, has helped us to have these conferences in the midst of perceived disunity. We have been successful in having those conferences.
You are one of the organizers here. Are you going to have 2,000 people? Are you adhering to the regulations of COVID-19?
In fact, we are adhering to the COVID regulations. If you look at this site, we are not going to occupy the space. If you look at the chairs there, they are all marked so that then we reduce. This stadium ordinarily takes 7,000 people. Our target is 2,000.
Are you worried about the upcoming report of the Zondo Commission on Bosasa?
I'm not.
You are one of the people whom Agrizi mentioned that you benefited, and that report is going to paint a very devastating picture for some ANC leaders, and you will have to account as leaders of the ANC in how Bosasa funded, how the ANC benefited from proceeds of corruption. Are you worried about that coming up?
It is us who supported the formation of the commission. Secondly, many of us were looking forward to cross-examining Agrizi, something that we were deprived of. We're looking forward to reading that report and see how we make sure that the rule of law is respected and there is fairness in the outcomes.
Should you be implicated, and probably are you worried that in future you could be criminally charged based on what may come out of the report? Would you take it for review? Should you be implicated?
I don't want to preempt it. As I've said, one of the issues I know, as a matter of fact, would have loved to cross-examine Agrizi, and we never had the chance.
Thank you very much for your time. Talk to you later. Well, that is Nomvula Mokonyane, one of the organizers of this event here today, as we see another NEC member, Zizi Godwa, who's been working hard ensuring that this January 8th statement happens together with other NEC members. Good enough. Thank you very much for your time. What does January 8th statement mean for ANC members? Under President General Oliver Reginald Tambo, people would look forward to Radio Freedom to hear the marching orders. But things have changed now. The ANC is facing challenges. How do you rebuild? How do you regroup?
It's important to appreciate and understand the different epochs. The OR Tambo was an epoch where the ANC existed in the illegality. We are now a governing party, and therefore it's important to reflect on issues that affect the people. People bestow their confidence on us as leadership. Since 1994, they bestow their leadership, they bestow their confidence to the leadership of the ANC. So whatever statement we make, it's got to respond, among others, to contemporary issues. Issues of young people in terms of unemployment. I mean, the number of, the percentage of unemployed young people is not just unacceptable. It's something that government cannot just talk about it. We must respond to it. The issues around the economy. Our economy has not been performing well. As you know, that we've got a disruption called COVID.
And let me stop you there. It was not performing well before COVID. Yes, COVID made matters worse. But since 1994, successive economic policies of the ANC have failed to deal decisively with poverty, inequality and unemployment, even though under President Thabo Mbeki the economy grew, but it did not address these challenges.
What is important, if you look in terms of the ownership of the economy, 70% of our economy is still in the hands of males. And it's important when we talk about transformation of the economy, that the participation and the ownership and the management of the economy, we make sure that majority of people, in this case black people, also participate in the economy. And I think one thing that we must accept as African National Congress in all the clauses of the Freedom Charter is that 2 clauses of the Freedom Charter we have moved with speed, and one is the economic transformation. The second one is the issue of the land. Took us a bit of a time, but of course,
because you don't have political will to address that. If you had political will to address it, you would have done it by now.
You must understand the kind of a constitutional democracy we agreed and accepted in 1994.
You had 2/3 majority to do it before.
The point we make is that since 1994, our people continue to bestow their confidence in the ANC. And where we have made shortcomings at the ANC, we must accept. And I'm just highlighting 2 clauses of the Freedom Charter, that we must accept the criticism. The economy and the land. We have been moved with speed. And part of the challenge now is that we have to move with speed if we are to address the issues of development.
And when address that, give us time frames.
The statement will respond to those issues today.
Let's talk about the unity of the ANC. The unity project is being derailed. Some people are not coming to the party. We are going for the 55th National Conference of the ANC. The 54th Conference of the ANC has recommended you as the NEC to work on the unity project. It's crumbling.
We knew that unity is not an overnight project, given where we come from, because factionalism has become an institution in the ANC. And to unlearn what has been happening for a period of time is going to be difficult. We knew that there's going to be challenges. And what we see at the moment is the results of the progress we are making around issues of unity. Whether you can see from outside the disunity in the organization, but I can assure you that we are making progress. Certain anecdotes and certain actions that are happening do not reflect the broader project and the successes we've made to build unity.
As the Deputy Minister responsible for state security, are you worried about the security situation in the country? There seems to be heightened security around President Cyril Ramaphosa and Deputy President Didier Mabuza. Should South Africans be concerned about the security situation in the country? Your president has extended the deployment of soldiers in the country's streets for mobility purposes. What is happening?
We don't take the issues of security for granted. That is why since July, we have always been making assessments about stability of security in the country. So there are no issues about the safety of the president and the risk even to this event, but we are more concerned about the country. But there are no general threat to suggest that there is security, there is instability in the country. But there are certain incidences that worry us as a security cluster. But of course, we're following.
What are those? Please explain.
For an example, the July incident.
Where you were caught napping.
That issue, we've accepted it, that there are lessons to be learned. We could have done better, and there are lessons to be learned. And that's why even now, we're much more proactive. So when you see people, a lot of security everywhere you go, it's not because there's a threat, but we don't want, again, to, like you say, to be caught, whatever you say.
You were sleeping. But let's talk about the security situation around here today. It's heightened, of course. I've covered many January 8 statements. I've covered many events of the ANC. This massive security that we see here today talks to some things. Yes, you are a security person. You may not divulge some of the things to, me as civilians like myself. But surely something deeper is going on, sis.
Well, I've attended a number of January 8 events. The security is the same.
No.
Well, maybe it depends which gate, which entrance you have used in the
park. Maybe because you've got security clearance, it's easier for you.
No. The point is that we don't take issues of security for granted. And that's why sometimes, whether there's a threat or risk or threat of the event, but what is important is that we don't just defend the president, protect the president, but these civilians, too, they need to be protected by government.
Are you worried about the Zondo Commission Part 2 and Part 3 coming out? You were implicated there. Some people were saying you should resign, and some people are expecting that there will be more revelations on ANC leaders. Should you be implicated? Would you step aside? Are you worried that in future you may be or you could be criminally charged?
When I went before the commission, you know that my approach was quite different. I went there to assist the commission. And it is upon the commission chairperson to make a determination about my submission. I was very clear in my submission, not to defend, but to admit where we have made mistakes. Look, the Zondo Commission for us is a point of redemption. There are lessons to be learned. from the point of view of leadership.
We are always learning these lessons. Would you ever say we have learned now?
Certainly, I'm talking about personally. There are certain lessons to be learned from the past, but if there is any determination to be made, it's not upon me. I've made my admission, I've made my submissions, it's upon the chairperson. So far, part 1 of the report says nothing about Zizi, because it was not about being guilty or not, but it's about assisting the investigation of the commission.
Should the second part and the third phase of the report come and point to you that, well, you need to account and there are recommendations that criminal judges should be preferred, what are you going to do?
I will accept any recommendation that comes from the commission. That is the point of view of the ANC. We will deal with those recommendations as individuals and see what best we can, if there are remedial actions in terms of our jurisprudence. We can take the report to the review, but at the moment we can't preempt. We don't know whether the report will say anything. So far it has said nothing.
It will say something about you, though, whether positive or negative.
All I can say is that it's not about me. That report is a point of redemption, and it's important as a country that we must learn. And of course, we can't deny that central to the report is the ANC. There is ANC, through his statement today, the president will respond to that.
Thank you very much for your time, Baba.
Thank you.
That is Zizi Godwa, is an NEC member of the ANC. As more and more people are trickling in, going to ask Omane to show you, I've spotted there on top, of course, security personnel taking their positions, ensuring that this gathering is safe. Everyone who's attending here is safe. As you can see in the stands, people are taking their positions here. But right now, we'll have a conversation with Dr. J.J. Tabane as Joe Omane stays with those visuals. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Sure, January 8th statement, finally we are here. The ANC is limping in disarray. They are denying that. It's a party for them. They have a right to celebrate. This is a milestone, but things are not looking good. Things are different. What can they learn? What should this January 8th statement outline that will tell South Africans that, well, at least the ANC has learned the lesson. They are self-correcting. They are rebuilding.
Yeah, that's going to be a mountain to climb, Sipa, because it's now 50 years exactly. I mean, I was not even born when they did the first January 8th statement back in 1972. And the way they've always used it is what we call to give marching orders. So I looked at last year's January 8th. They said unity, renewal, reconstruction. And I'm looking forward to talking to any of the leaders of the ANC, asking them, of these three things, how do they rate themselves? And so, more to your question, they can only repeat their message, because the unity that they talked about a year ago in last year's January 8th has gotten worse. The rifts are even bigger, right? The renewal they are talking about has not really taken off, but I'm sure they'll argue that, look, we are trying to get rid of the General Secretary, we suspended him, and that should give some kind of if you like, confidence in the fact that we are serious about this whole step-aside thing and so on, as part of being shown to be serious. But what will convince people, and my theme broadly will be the question of believability. What is it in this statement that they can say that is believable, right? And now they've got an opportunity in terms of the current report. And I've heard what both Zizi Godwa and Nombula said about the report, right? They are obviously dancing around it because, you know, they still have to read and come up with a litmus test. Can this statement say something that will ensure that the ANC doesn't close the rank around people who are accused of corruption, both from Zondo and elsewhere?
I'm going to have to pause you for now. I've spotted ANC KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Chairperson Sihle Zikalala. I'll come back to you. Kuzen, thank you very much for your time. January 8th statement. Yesterday you were at the Peter Mokaba Memorial Lecture. You are the former secretary of the ANC Youth League. You are the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC is celebrating this 110, not in a good state of affairs. What lessons have you learned? But also, how should this January 8th statement be different from the previous ones?
Well, this January 8th statement should appeal direct to the basic and the primary needs and grievances of our people in the current epoch. And I think learning from the local government elections and the state of the society, the fundamental thing that we think January 8th must address should be the issue of jobs and addressing poverty, as a key challenge that is facing the South African society. But it should also equally address the state of the movement itself, because the ANC needs to rebuild itself, renew its structures, its character and standing in the society.
Something you've been highlighting for years, but it's not happening. The Unity project is facing challenges.
Unity will always be under construction. You will never have a state where you will say the movement is fully solidified. We must continue to work for the unity of the ANC. It is a cornerstone for the liberation movement like the ANC.
The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal was punished by the voters. You have registered an electoral decline. Those who have spoken to us cite the issue of lack of basic service delivery, the issues of water, electricity. As we see more NEC members coming here, we see Police Minister Peggy arriving. He's an NEC member. They continue to be clean. But realistically speaking, what is it that you are doing to change the lives of South Africans? They have given you the constitutional mandate to govern. You have squandered some of the chances and opportunities. You have done well in some instances. What will it take for you just to get it right once and for all?
With regard to KwaZulu-Natal specifically, the immediate thing is to roll out the program of providing basic services, water in particular, and address the issues of waste removal in our townships, then address the issue of jobs creation. And I think with that we will be able to succeed and regain the confidence of the people.
How should the ANC have an implementation plan for the Zondo Commission report, which is scathing on the ANC? The Zondo Commission's report should be opened firstly for discussion within the ANC, but for implementation by relevant structures. ANC Limpopo Provincial Chairperson Peter Mokaba says President Ramaphosa must get a second term. Structures of the ANC are pronouncing. I know you will give me a generic standard answer about the nomination process not on for now. What is your view in KwaZulu-Natal? Should ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa get a second term?
It is not a generic answer. It is a practical and a principled response that the issue of the election of the leadership should be discussed once it is formally opened by ANC and EC. Thank you.
You are here in Limpopo. They are discussing it openly. Why can't you discuss it?
Well, it doesn't mean that because someone is doing something that is not accepted or that is not yet officially opened, doesn't mean we should all support and do that. We can't do the same.
President, thank you very much for time. See you later. That is ANC Chairperson in KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala. Dr. J.J. Tabane, I'm asking Sihle Zikalala about the issue of succession.
Yes.
Stan Machabata, Limpopo Chairperson of the ANC, is clear Cyril Ramaphosa must get a second term. What do you make of this succession debate that is currently underway, even though some people will say it's too early and too premature?
It's not too early because January 8th kicks off the year. And how is this year going to end? This year is going to end in another Nazareth, wherever this conference is going to take place. It's a succession battle is on. Anybody who is not naive about ANC politics would know that people have to put their stake on the ground now.
Okay, I'll have to pause you. I see your guest here, Ronald Lamula, is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to take over and interview Ronald Lamula. He's your guest. He's been ready. So let's just call Ronald Lamula for now. I understand that Ronald Lamula is joining us here. So J.J. Tabane will be doing this interview with Ronald Lamula. So you take it over, Doc.
Okay, thank you, Sipa. Minister, how are you?
I'm very well, yes, sir.
All right. Tell me, in terms of just the current setup, what would you say to me is the biggest thing that needs to come out of a gathering like this, given all the challenges that are facing the ANC right now?
Yeah, the biggest thing is to give certainty to the country that the ANC remains stable, and we are continuing to resolve our internal challenges. But at the end, this gathering is more of giving a message to the people of this country on various issues of service delivery, unemployment, economic growth, and the security of the country.
Are you worried about the release of the state capture report from a point of view of timing of this year being an elections year for the ANC?
No, we are not. We have always said that we support the work of the Commission of Inquiry. You will remember that Nazareth resolved that there must be a state capture Commission of Inquiry to go into the bottom of the challenges of the country, corruption, fraud, and so forth. So we are not worried. We believe that obviously the NEC will take a posture on what must happen to members of the ANC who are implicated. But the President has already said there is nothing that stops law enforcement agencies to do their job with whatever facts and evidence that they have at their disposal. If they have to investigate, prosecute, they must do so without any fear or favor, in line with their constitutional and statutory mandate.
Yeah. Similarly, there's nothing that stops those who are implicated from resigning before the law agencies come after them. Would you encourage something like that in line with a step-aside resolution of the ANC?
Yeah, obviously, things like this have to speak to the conscience of the individual, but what I can speak on is what obviously the NEC will have to process, which the NEC must obviously express its view on the matter. But also, as you have said, there's nothing that stops individuals from listening to their own conscience.
Yeah, a lot of things were said about the believability of your stance on the land question. We've just emerged out of a failure by Parliament to actually pass a resolution or amend the law or the Constitution to give back the land. Right? And this was a big song and dance at the last January 8, which promises that the land thing is finally going to return to the people. Your view on this thing, I know you are leading this debate on the land. If you summarize it, how do you see the way forward on this? This looks like a disaster where EFF and ANC couldn't agree on something so fundamental.
Yeah, the ANC has kept its word that we are going to carry it through to the National Assembly, and we knew all along that we do not have the required majority. Hence, we engage with all political parties in Parliament, including the EFF, whom we believe we could find each other on the matter. But unfortunately, on the basis of the fact that they wanted us to expropriate all land and put it under the hands of the state, which will have gone against the policy position of the ANC that there must be mixed ownership of land, where the state owns land for its own use and also for lease, where individuals still have title deeds, and also where there is communal land and we deal with security of tenure. So if we had followed the model that the EFF wanted us to do, we would have dispossessed all South Africans of their land, both black, white, Indians and colors. And the reality is that South Africans are fighting that the land must come to them. The Freedom Charter said the land must be shared amongst the people. It must be distributed to the people. They are not fighting for the land to go to the state. So that model will not have worked. But there is still a way forward.
Did you do enough to try and get the agreement between you and the EFF?
We did everything possible, JJ. And hence, even the discussions, if you look, the most discussions we had was with the EFF than any other political party. The rest of the other political parties, we engaged with them. They told us their stance with the EFF because we had hope. We had a lot of discussions, but unfortunately, we could not come to an agreement. Although we compromised, as you will see from the bill, we had compromised on the issue of custodianship by the state, which was said that is going to be transitional. So that was us extending an olive hand to the EFF and our willingness to resolve this issue for the benefit of our people.
Let's hope you will be able to get together with them. I'm saying let's hope you'll be able to get together with them to try and find a resolution on this land issue.
No, we will proceed. We will proceed with the expropriation bill that is currently before Parliament. That does not need any other organization. On our own, with our numbers, we will be able to proceed with that. And we will also proceed to strengthen state institutions that are responsible for the land issue. As you are aware, we also have a land court bill that is before Parliament, and there are various laws that the Department of Rural Development is putting through. And we are hoping that will help us to resolve this question, because not only one instrument will resolve it, it needs a number of policy instruments.
Okay, thank you, Minister. All the best. Okay, we're going to talk. Spa will take over now to talk to Minister Becky Bele.
Absolutely, JJ. This is called a division of labor. It's live television. We are dividing this labor here. It's a division of labor between myself, Pulele Judy Jones, as well as Dr. JJ Tabane. I've just spotted members of the Presidential Protection Unit making their way inside the stadium. They are sweeping. Members of the Presidential Protection Unit are already here. And I've just spotted this NEC member of the ANC, General Begi Kele, and I've spotted the police's top brass. I see Fani Masemola is also here. You are an NEC member of the ANC January 8 statement. What is it that the January 8 statement will say which is different from what has been said in the past?
Well, I'm not going to read the January 8 statement.
You were there when it was drafted. You are an NEC member. It's an NEC statement.
It's exactly. It's not what I'm going to read here on live. The president will be doing that around about 1, and then I can speak. It will be very much a discipline for me to come and preempt the president and say things that I know exactly as a part of it. I know what the president will say, but I'm not the president. I'll have to wait for the president to say those things.
And I can tell you that statement will have something on the issue of security, issue of gender-based violence, the issue of crime, which is rampant in South Africa, which is getting out of control. It's at a crisis level. What needs to be done to arrest this escalating violent crime in the country and deal with the issue of gender-based violence and femicide?
And definitely we'll say something about that, President. After spoken about that, then we can take forward the issues at the government level. As he speaks, the President will also expand on those things come the state of the nation, where we're instructed as the government what to say. The gender-based violence, which all of us, we must pick it up and work very hard on it, as we are working on it as the members of the South African police and the whole system of the justice system. But indeed, crime is there. Though we're fighting crime, I can report that even this morning there was a trial, people trying to have cash in transit at Maple Hall. We dealt with them decisively. 6 of them were arrested. 1 of them was shot and killed when they exchanged the fire with the police. So we'll continue to do these things. We'll continue to work on crime. President will talk about it, and then we'll take it forward for the implementation.
I see police's top brother here. I see Fani Masemola is also here. There is heavy police deployment. Are you worried about the state of the security in the country? Since July, it appears as if there is this increased police visibility and army deployment. Is South Africa becoming a security state? But is there something that South Africans do not know that you know about the safety, security of the country?
Well, let's take the event today. All the events, political events, we deploy police. But the intensity you see here is because not just the ANC event, but the whole government is here. The president, the deputy president, and all ministers are here. So while we're looking at the ANC event, we're also looking at the government personnel, which means we need to take an extra care, whether there is a situation or no situation on that one. Well, we haven't deployed the soldiers since the holidays. Police are dealing with it. Indeed, there are issues that are causing the concern, as you have raised. Fortunately, the July report has been tabled to the President. We hope it will be discussed at the National Security Council, and we'll know which direction that we're taking. You know that President does have the report from Dr. Mofumati on the state security. Pulling together those things and speaking in the National Security Council, will be able to find our way going forward.
Are you not sleeping on the job this time around? Will you not be caught napping in terms of the country's security situation?
Never caught napping. Even then.
In July it happened.
Absolutely not caught napping. It's because what happened is what you saw. You didn't see. We have been saying this thing. You didn't see what didn't happen because we worked on those particular things. Yes, bad things happened, but it could have been worse if there was no putting shoulder on the wheel.
The ANC claims to be fighting corruption. The Zondo Commission report is out, phase 1 of it. I know that there are recommendations that the NPA will have to come in and deal with some matters that may need to be prosecuted. Of course, that will require capacity from the NPA to decide what to prosecute, but your police will be central and instrumental in investigating some of the possible cases emerging or emanating from the Zondo Commission report. How should the ANC-led government implement this report, and how should law enforcement agencies and the security cluster and justice deal with this report?
Well, ANC will see how they deal with the report, but from the side of the police, we need to strengthen our wing that is dealing with it, which is Hawks. Unfortunately, it is not at the level and the standard where we want it to be, but we are working on that. We hope that the prosecution will be also strengthened. All recommendations from Zondo will have to be implemented. We have looked at some of them, and police will have to be on top and do all what we're supposed to do.
Peter Mokaba, ANC Limpopo Provincial Chairperson, says ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa must get a second term. What is your view as an ANC member of the ANC?
If you ask me, as me on President Cyril, I would support that yesterday, tomorrow, and today.
Thank you very much for your time. That is NEC member General Bheki Cele, who is also the police minister, but here in his capacity as an NEC member of the ANC, as he meets with the police's top brass. I'm going to ask my colleague here, Joe Komane, to pen and show you. You know, these are the senior leaders and the management of the police in South Africa. Unfortunately, we have to take it back to you in studio for now, but you will come back to us for this rolling coverage, as the program has just gotten underway with cultural activities here at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane, Limpopo.